out there. I'm Marilee, as you know, your host for Super Soul Solutions radio show, and I appreciate you tuning in and being curious about the subject today, which is how to access soul consciousness through direct knowing experience. I'm really happy to introduce Scott Lemriel to you today, and he is known worldwide as a direct experience-based, hidden truth-revealing researcher, international speaker, and all-around Renaissance man. He's also a book and screenplay author, an actor, producer, director, music composer, and performer. He directed 50 weekly TV shows with the theme Exploring Your Spiritual Life. Scott is passionate about revealing what he has uncovered and continues to discover through direct contact with the oldest off-world species called the Phase Race race. The Phase Race race initially co-created with the source of all life, also referred to as Prime Creator, and was responsible for the development and the coming into creation of our human species. And by the way, this may be a little shocking to some, but the human race did not originate on planet Earth. At this time, with many of you here have courageously, and so it is a perfect time, and I'm very excited for Scott to share with you some really positive news. Recently, Prime Creator announced a special dispensation to end the, quote, experiment of evil, end quote, and an uplifting, transformative golden ray of enlightenment is now available for everyone to access. This golden ray is profoundly affecting all beings and species. It has had a deep effect on this ancient Phase Race race. And so the influence from this golden ray impelled that race to take responsibility by returning back to Earth after 1 billion years. Why? Assist of humans in our full awakening and remembering of who we truly are as a soul, not just a body. So what does this mean for us in the world? This means your higher consciousness will be activated and you have an opportunity to recover your original creator-given abilities that have been switched off long ago. So did you know that it's normal for humans around the universe to live for a minimum of 1,000 years? There are millions of humans and civilizations out there which will be revealed slowly this coming decade. Did you know that our creator-given soul abilities, when switched back on, are to be telepathic or telepathic, to have a photographic memory, to remember all our parallel lifetimes, to access anything we need to know from the field when we need to know it, to easily soul travel at will out of body and back into the body, to remember what we did when our soul leaves our body every night while we sleep, to heal fast, and to use 100% of our brain capacity, not just 10 to 20% as we've been told. So this is our divine right, and my biggest passion is to help humanity turn those gene switches back on. That is why I invited Scott to be here today. Scott will be teaching you an empowering sound tool to activate consciousness expansion within you. This primordial sound activates the pineal gland, the third eye, and it is designed to plug you into the omnipresent energy field that exists underneath and between all matter and all dimensions, allowing you to become more aware and more conscious. This creator sound, so to speak, opens the pineal doorway for you to travel and explore your true soul nature. And this sound, by the way, can be easily strengthened for 15 minutes every night before you go to sleep. In the last half hour of our show, Scott will skillfully and colorfully guide you through a journey where each of you will have a direct experience of yourself as soul. And once you do, you will never forget. Scott has had ongoing direct conversations and experiences with this oldest phase race, which continue today, as well as numerous experiences of conscious 5 years old, bi-location explorations into parallel and higher dimensions, and journeys involving our future Earth destiny time track. He was shown how human consciousness was interfered with about 500,000 years ago, and when at that time our brain was divided into subconscious and conscious. This action, plus an energetic fear insertion, closed down our direct knowing of who we are as a soul and what we are doing here on Earth. And this is all about to change. So with that, welcome, Scott, and thank you so much for being here for the benefit of all of us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. You've said a good deal, and I think that helps bridge some things for people because we only have a short time. So thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. Would you mind if I just ask you a couple questions to describe and define a couple of terms first so that we're all aligned on the same page, so to speak?
Sure, you bet.
Okay. So what is a soul, and what does it look like?
Okay. What most people on Earth call soul has an actual structure or form to it, energetically and visually. And most people on Earth probably don't realize it, but they have a subconscious sphere of actually accessing and understanding, remembering what it is, because everybody on Earth once knew it, whether they don't know it now or not. It's spherical. It has a white core. It goes through the spectrum of colors from a white core through yellow to orange to red to green to blue to lavender to violet. There's a golden energy around it. Actually has a structure. Some people have seen spheres of light, but through physical eyes, they have a very difficult time seeing the actual detail of it. So we're actually spherical. Planets and suns and stars and moons are round because they are comprised or built by the makers who built them. In other words, they represent a form that looks like us. Is there something? Okay.
Interesting. Great. Thank you. That clarifies that. What does true enlightenment or expansion of consciousness mean, and how can we have direct awakening recall of it?
Expansion of consciousness is more about recall and remembering. In other words, people on Earth, when they're born here, usually don't remember who they are, how they got to be here in a body on Earth, and all they once knew before it was deprived them at some point in their history before they were incarnated on this particular planet. Expansion of consciousness has to do with recovering higher faculties of the Atma itself, what beings from other worlds, the most advanced spacefaring races, and their master teachers call Atma, people on Earth call soul. But they have a working experiential knowledge from birth about what that is and how to move that around the multiverse.
Fascinating. Great. Okay. Thank you for that clarity. So also a couple other terms, just to clear. What is self-realization and God/source realization, and how do we recognize it when it surfaces in our awareness?
Okay. Self-realization is an awakening within the being, not the body, not the brain. Not the body and brain a person grew up in this one lifetime, learning what they could in this lifetime. Self-realization is becoming aware consciously of what we are that has never been a physical body, that isn't a physical body now, that's running the physical body, and it's spherical. It is not made of nuclear material. It is not atomic in nature. It's not atoms and protons and electrons or any of that. And God realization is returning or actually having a journey at some time during your life where you go out of your body all the way back up through the dimensions to the source, what beings from other worlds call prime creator. You could call source. People on Earth call it supreme being without really understanding it or believing they can really understand it or know what that is. That's incorrect. Beings have the ability to return to the source from whence they originated and to assist in bringing back to that source new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life. So God realization or source realization is understanding that we as individual Atmas are meant to be conscious co-creators with that source, not its slaves, conscious co-creators, because the spherical aspect of us, what people call soul, is actually and it's an eternal energy. It's not made of matter. It is energy, but it's not energy that people on Earth understand yet. You could call it toroidal or zero-point energy, which scientists call, which is the energy in the universe, packing the void of space. If you look at a Hubble time-lapse photography of all those galaxies out there, which anybody can find online, see all these beautiful galaxies and all of that. But an Atma has the ability to go out of body and telepathically connect with that omnipresent energy because it's a living energy. It's one energy behind and supporting everything that exists beyond the Earth and into the multidimensional creation itself. And it exists on different vibrational levels. Matter, like the Earth and the Sun and the Moon, are made of a nuclear energy that's built upon it. So we have the ability to recover who we are as a being and what our true purpose for existing really is. And that's to be a conscious, trustworthy co-creator with that source.
That is so hopeful and so exciting, and that also explains why I always had this gut reaction. The one time I went into a church and they asked to get on our knees, I actually ran out the door throwing up. And because I felt that no true creator wants us to worship them. Would you agree with that?
Completely. I mean, if people, okay, let's put this way. My work is only based on direct experience. I don't work with any negative emotions ever. I don't work with fear or doubt or speculation or theory or debate, because they're all negative emotional streams and they misdirect people. So, and they're not a natural emotion of the actual Atma or soul anyway. They're artificially created and imposed upon beings in a history people don't remember. So when you go to the source itself, which is far above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, there are many realities above that, and the source itself never requested or required or encouraged any of us to worship it in the first place. What it does require, this source, is that we respect it and each other and all life in the grand multidimensional creation. To do that, we have to become aware again of what all that life is.
Total sense, yes. Okay, well, at this point, I'm going to give you full reign here to go on and describe any details you want to share about the incredible new Source Golden Ray Pulsation. And then I understand, and we're planning we're planning for you to lead us on a wonderful journey of direct experience of soul.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay, fine, great. I should tell people that my experience in recovering what I knew before I was born here took place when this body was 3. And at that time, I was on a journey to come to this earth to talk with certain leaders here. This was almost 70 years ago, in order to help to bring about a transformation for the world then, and that was refused. And I wasn't the only one that ever approached leaders on this world. And my mission was intercepted. I found myself compelled to enter a body that was 3. So if people want to call it a walk-in, they can. But here's the point. Everyone on earth is a walk-in. What I mean by that is they're born in a body that comes out of a woman and it takes its first breath. And at that point, most people don't remember where they came from before they were born. So when we go through this experience of awakening who we are, and I kept that silent throughout my life, many other things happened. For instance, when I was 3, I found myself above the body as an adult human male, extraterrestrial, not from Earth. And I looked up and I saw this golden sphere above my head, and it had geometric formulas in it and mathematical equations, things that I understood about how to traverse the multiverse. And I looked up and I saw the stars, and this little body was about 3 walking up some brick steps to my home in Utah. And I looked up at the stars and looked down at the body, and I looked up and I knew where I was. And I said, Earth, what am I doing on Earth? That experience, I didn't understand how I got to be there in that condition. So one of the two books that I published, we'll get into later, one's The Savior's Agenda, and in it you'd find some experiences about two people that really go through a great deal about the direct experiences I've had, so that'll be helpful for people. In the back are special technique sections as well that will work with what we're going to do on this show, so people can access that later as well. In the multiverse, most people, like on Earth and some other worlds, think that imagination comes from their brain. It doesn't. There actually isn't any mechanism in the human brain that has a motion picture camera and a projector screen on which you can see things. People are taught this by people who believe this, but it's not true. For instance, if you're in a classroom, and this is important for what we're going to do on our journey, if you're in a classroom, let's say, as an example, and you're growing up and you're in, say, high school and the teacher's boring or you don't want to be there and you're looking at the teacher with your eyes, you see the classroom, but you're imagining being on the ski slope or out on an ocean beach. That is what we call daydreaming. It is not the brain that's doing that. The eyes are set to a small frequency of light to detect what's going on around you. But the daydreaming part, the creative imagination, is what you're seeing as the Atma, the round spherical being we call soul on Earth, that's actually seeing that without realizing it's running that body and that brain, and that it isn't coming from the brain at all. So when people go to sleep at night, and people are experts all over the world at doing this, it's a very complex process involving the pineal gland in the center of the brain that secretes serotonin, makes melatonin, puts your body really in a trance state. When I say trance, I don't mean hypnosis. It puts it in an automatic state to breathe, for the blood to circulate, for the heart to pump while you're gone every single night. People on this planet are not trained from birth, anywhere that I know of, that in order to develop the skills and access higher faculties, in order to bring back in the morning when they wake that body up what it is they were doing. So they don't believe in it. They don't access it. They don't exercise it. They just have a very tough time bringing back awareness of what they're doing when they're dreaming, when they're out of their body at night. So to recover some of this, there isn't the first half of the word human is hu. And it is a way that human beings, not just on Earth and not just human, can telepathically access, or link into this pure energy that supports all life. The void in space is not empty. It is packed with a white golden light, and when you're out of your body as the Atma, you can see this. So if you look at a Hubble telescope image, all the background looks black behind the galaxies because physical eyes can't see into the higher frequency. But the Atma out of body can see it quite clearly. And we have ability to access and directly link into that. Telepathic pure communication is not psychic. It is much higher than that. And it links through into an energy that is behind and before positive and negative things were made, just like us. Each Atma, each individual running a body on Earth today, is still and has ever been at the beginning of all things before the worlds of time and space were made. They don't remember this. And that goes back into galactic history they've been made to forget. That goes back into interdimensional history they've been made to forget. And it goes back into Earth and solar system history they've been made to forget. To begin the process of recovering this, we work with the first half of the word human hidden in plain sight. It is the missing word in some spiritual books. It isn't a written word, it's a sound. So first the sound, then light, and brought all this into creation, which also means that all of us actually underneath it all are responsible ourselves as individuals, as Atmas, collectively with the source, for creating this, what we call the failed experiment of evil. Failed because it didn't work to cattle prod people to do what is right, to be a co-creative source, a co-creator with the source, and be trusted with it. That's failed. So something else was brought into creation about 8 Earth years ago, out beyond Earth, out in the higher dimensions, that affected the most ancient human race called the Say race. They were 18 to 25 feet tall human beings. They didn't originate in this galaxy, and they didn't originate even 5 galaxies away from here. Back in galactic history, they were responsible for bringing into higher evolution, DNA in human forms like the kind we are today. We have Say-Ray's DNA in us. Many of the races that travel the stars, human, humanoid, and other races that people on Earth are not allowed to know yet because it's classified. Also understand this Hugh principle. On worlds out there that I visited, children who grow up on another planet that is a normal human planet, I mean normal, by the time they're 10, they have the equivalent IQ and equivalent training of a person with 10 PhDs on this planet because they have a photographic memory, they use 100% of their already developed brain, and they're telepathic. They know how to get in and out of their bodies, and the governments encourage this because they're benevolent. That's the majority of what we're going to find when this disclosure happens on this planet, of the races that live out there. Some are tyrant, not all. Most are good. A few are tyrant, and they're quarantined right now, which means they're not allowed to come into the solar system, which means we have the opportunity to make an unexpected transformative change on this planet for the first time. This new ray that Lemriel talked about, consider a new state of consciousness moving through the omnipresent living energy that supports all life. That means the source itself has gone through a change in consciousness to retire something that hasn't worked and replace it with something that is designed to only motivate all Atmas to create with their imagination that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life, not just all life on Earth. And to do that properly, we have to become aware of what that life is that is beyond Earth. Because the majority of what people call God is not on Earth. It's out there, way out in all those dimensions. And we're just little, just one little planet.
Exactly.
So it's so absurd. It's absurd if we think that we're going to be allowed in spaceships to go out among the stars and bring our fight of different religions, our struggle and our deception, dishonesty as political people, and our rockets and nuclear weapons, and go out there and plant our flag out there and use their territory or mine their worlds, because the fact is space is already occupied. We're never going to be allowed to be like Star Trek in the future with radioactive warp cores that will kill you, because those are illegal. So think about it. If you're these 450-plus million worlds that travel the stars in one organization, and out towards the galactic core of the Milky Way, there is a planet called Zitronami, and it is the headquarters for 5,000 member representatives that represent more than 450 million spacefaring worlds. And they work together in harmony. Those people recently went through a change because the Say-Ray's ambassador, whose name is Ambassador Terrellian, and the Say-Rays, who first helped raise DNA forms like ours to a level where they were spacefaring, then vanished a long time ago in galactic history to see what we do with it, went through a change of their own. And this ambassador appeared before this council, and the energy that he brought with him through a particular book, which is called the Say-Ray's Agenda, transformed those people. They became more motivated to have a direct involvement with our planet. Because in history, most beings and master teachers and all that people hear about really had kind of restraints on them for helping people here because of certain ways that what we call spiritual law work, the lower dimensions of time and space. The problem is that people on Earth, if you honor free will and you realize as a group of beings out there that people on Earth no longer have true free will, don't even remember what it is, then they have a responsibility to help us recover that so we can make proper decisions as a world. What they want is for this planet to rise up in vibration, and it's working through children all over the world right now, to where a certain percentage can actually ask for their help to come here, in which case they can come here in massive amounts of ships. But they don't want to terrorize people. Most people would run in terror if they landed right now. And I'm talking about nice, uplifting, vibrantly high human beings, men and women. So that problem, the subconscious drives that are fear-based in people on Earth, that first has to be addressed. And the best way to do that is to work with people when they're out of their bodies at night, when they're more expanded, when they're not carrying the fear of the life they grew up in here. And then when they wake up in the morning, they become changed. So the people I work with, vast numbers, and they're master teachers, people from other worlds, are working in this direction regarding our planet. Two things had to happen in order for this to occur. The past polar flips of this planet, because it is a unique planet, that happened every 100,000 years, 6 ice ages in 600,000 years, that had to be dealt with first. Because if you raise a civilization of 100,000 years and then wipe it out, you got to start all over. People from the stars have to recolonize, bring mammals and plant life here. This brings me to a point, Marilee, you brought up earlier. Human beings never evolved on this planet in the first place. Get outside the world in your imagination right now and look at the world as one world with a moon that's barren going around it, and then it goes around the sun. One atmosphere, bunch of ocean, land, one round world. How can all the races represented here have evolved the differences they demonstrate on one planet and one atmosphere? That's not possible. So each race that's on Earth today, African American, Caucasian, Asian, Semitic, whatever they are, were beings in human and humanoid form that evolved in whole world systems, and all that one race was on all those systems. And over a history that people couldn't even possibly imagine right now, they were brought here, often as slaves, under treaty. Both good and bad civilizations were developed in small areas on this earth under treaty. And when they're done, if you're a tyrant race, you just leave your slaves behind. What they did out there is shut down certain genomes on the DNA, because genomes on the DNA are just switches. And they're run by precise frequencies. So people on Earth today, they've mapped out 1 billion of these genomes on the DNA, and they used to think that some of it that was they called junk DNA was junk. Now they know they're just turned off right on Earth today. But they don't know what they're doing and how to turn them on. So if you have a genome shut down by a tyrant race and you're put on Earth to procreate over a very long period of time and pass on these shut down genomes, when an Atma like us is compelled to get into a body here, when a body's born, they try to use their higher faculties and they run into these shut off genomes on the DNA and things don't work. That's a big problem for people on Earth.
Yeah.
So to reverse
frustrating.
that, yeah, isn't it? I mean, everybody knows what I'm saying in the back of their consciousness is true because they've all confronted it at some point in their life. They all know, gee, I used to know so much more. I just know I knew more than this, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And they try to access it, and they become subconsciously terrorized. They don't see or hear the program that's there, but they feel it. And that affects the nervous system, and that's what misdirects people's thinking and decisions on this planet. So even though tyrants are no longer here, there's no little gray guys abducting anybody anymore. Hasn't been for 20, 25 years. And a lot of people in the UFO and disclosure communities don't yet know this. The reptilians, a few of those that were in a couple that never came here in large numbers, that were in bases underground, are gone. But here's the thing. No power on this earth removed them. Something else did that. When this radiation from the Fukushima plants that blew their tops off, 3 of them, was coming ashore of the Pacific Northwest and measured it, and we've tested it at 60 rads and climbing. It could have, that accident should have killed everybody in Japan, part of what would be, I guess, eastern Russia and China and part of California. And it was coming towards our shore. We measured this, and this was offered through the governor of the state at the time when that was a big threat. So there was labs provided, and we could measure it. And then one day, it just vanished from the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do that on Earth.
We got a little help.
We got a lot of help. So this brings me to the point that since World War II ended, the struggle with the former Soviet Union, what was called the Cold War, during that time, these guys had actually set off hydrogen bombs in our own atmosphere that sent radiation that have a half-life of 500,000 years all over the planet. Those same people actually pressed the button to have a nuclear war 12 separate times, and their launch computers were shut down from space. Now, they're not going to tell people that. That's one of the most classified things there is, and they're afraid to tell people that because they are in control of it. It wasn't sinister. It was benevolent. In other words, beings from other worlds that are kind don't want to run our screwed up government systems here and people. That's the complex thing they don't want to get involved in. But one thing they will not tolerate, fortunately for us in heaven, is they won't allow us to have nuclear war here. So right now, what people call disclosure is beginning to be underway. I'll give you an example. The Pentagon approved and has approved Project Blue Book, which is now into the third year of a series of episodes about Professor Hynek's life, who is an astrophysicist hired by the Air Force to be a mouthpiece for Project Blue Book, to put a spin on anything they saw about extraterrestrials to make it like swamp gas or something else. That's why he was hired. During his life, he had so many experiences with extraterrestrials, he could no longer do what they wanted him to do. Now, that series is on, and get this, the things that he saw and experienced, people should see because it's part of disclosure. It's on the History Channel, not on the Sci-Fi Channel.
So cool. Yeah.
Okay. Then there's a woman who was, and I don't promote these people, I've never met them, that was in the Navy who, when she got out, she did a documentary. And she interviewed Bob Lazar, who worked at Area 51. He's a physicist, reverse engineering things out there. One of the first whistleblowers and all that was classified. And she interviewed these Navy pilots that flew two F-16s, and it was tracked by radar, and they shot it on video off an aircraft carrier off the Pacific coast. And they had this disc playing with them, circling them, going up to 80,000 feet, down to sea level in a second. No hostile intent, but it was just playing with them. The Pentagon approved the release of that as authentic. So the reason I'm bringing that up isn't nothing to do with my work exactly, but I bring it up because I want to make sure people understand that although generally most people live in fear here, because all the people in the world are busily reinforcing negative views of the future, the past prophesied destructive destiny for this world was recently changed out among the stars about 8 Earth years ago, permanently. So we have the opportunity to grow up and actually ask and invite people to come here so that we can become a responsible member of the Galactic Alliance. They offered that decades ago. Out of fear, people turned it down, and I understand that fear, especially after World War II. But people that have held all this information back know that they have to disclose now because they've been told what's going to happen, and they've been basically told off-world that they're going to have to because otherwise this place is going to go up in smoke. You don't need a nuclear war to ruin this planet. Global warming would do that by itself. So there's a lot that needs to be corrected here that, unfortunately, people on Earth today, the leaders, people with money, aren't motivated enough to send it in the right direction. Because if they had been, they would have created a science to neutralize radioactive imbalanced isotopes they created for bombs. They could just neutralize them. The technology to do this...
excuse me
to do this... Excuse me, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, excuse me for interrupting, but that's why we need to wake up, and the technologies that you're going to present will help them. Because they're not going to do that.
Let's go back to the word "hue," first half of the word "human." People need to understand, or if they want to know the truth about this. This word, although it may be used by some organizations on this world, is not copyrightable, patented, possessed, or owned by anyone on Earth or any planet or any dimension. It is the link sound into the first word behind creation. It goes directly into it, no intermediary, and it begins to reverse a person's long journeys and lifetimes so they begin to wake up what they need to return. Number one. It comes with a certain kind of protection that people need to experience for themselves. It is hidden in plain sight in the word human. And language, by the way, and written language did not evolve originally on this planet either. Human beings evolved in this form out among the stars and other worlds and other galaxies several billions of years ago. This is a very old form. When it's not messed with and the brain is working at 100%, I mean, right now we have brains on Earth that are working at 100%, but people only access 6 to 10% of it. That's a problem, because if they accessed 100% of it, they would be able to be above the body, looking at it, running it like they should be. So when we start to work with the Hue, this is all based on a person's individual direct experience. It's not about faith. Faith is a great place to start, but it should leap into direct experience at some point. Because people are meant to be knowing co-creators with the Source, not just little minions under its domination. I don't use the word supreme being because it sounds like a dictator to me. Supreme authority kind of thing. And this keeps people subjugated to believe that they can only find out after their body dies. Certain governments on this planet, certain tyrant kings love that. Because then that people don't do anything to wake anything up while they're alive. That's a trap for the Atma, for soul. So let me go into the Hue, and I'll do one for you right now. Hue. It's a round whole tone. It sets up, what it does is open a doorway through the pineal gland. In the pineal gland is this clear liquid supposed to be, little rods and cones like you have in your eyes. And each one's tuned to a different frequency, but not on Earth. So when a person begins to run the body properly, when they begin to recover that they are an energy being and have never, ever been a physical body, even though they've been deluded into believing it in one way or another, when they do that, they begin to recover or access higher faculties they once used. And that's like an unraveling a tight knot. So when we go into the Hue, the creative imagination that I work with in guiding people is not something they see in their brain. They must understand this. People need to understand this right now. Because without that, people will not make much progress. The imagination part of us that sees other things, when we're talking on the phone right now, we're having a telepathic conversation. Sure, I've got a phone in my hand and you do, but we're actually talking sphere to sphere. The body's kind of an illusion, a projection of the Atma in that regard. So we're actually telepathic beings. On Earth, people call it intuition because they've forgotten what it is. And they're not sure that when it happens as an intuition that it's accurate or right. Telepathy cannot fail. Telepathic communication, it works through a pure energy. It's not part of the positive and negative constructs of the lower dimensions of time and space. That's important. So every night people put themselves to bed like experts, and they go to sleep without even, effortless, right, for the most part. They don't realize that the Atma they are running that body has to cause that pineal gland to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, and put it to sleep. There's an energy link from the core, the white core of the spherical Atma or soul, to the pineal gland when it's out that is not a silver cord or a golden cord that can be broken. It's a direct, pure energy behind creation that is not nuclear that links to the body, so you can run it when you're very far away from it. So for 8 hours, it sits there in sleep. It's in a trance state. Nobody's home. You knock on their head. They're snoring. And you have to shock them awake and bring them back to the body. But what's really happening is the person every night is out of their body, endeavoring to make gains to become a co-creator, which is the core purpose for our existing. And they don't know how to do it because there's subconscious things there that terrorize them to do it. Some people will say, if I get out of my body, demons will get me. Here's what I say to that. Demons have already got you. You're on Earth with no memory of how you got here, where you came from. You remember almost nothing except what you grew up with here, right? People do. And that is not normal. They think it is, but it isn't. If one of these, anybody on Earth was suddenly transported to a normal human planet out there, they would think they were in heaven. But to the people living there, it's normal. In the physical universe, I'm speaking. So to access direct experience of this, I ask that people, wherever they are, if they're capable of doing it, or even after this show, get in a chair, lay on a bed, close their eyes, because then they're shutting off the brain, they're shutting off the light frequencies into their eyes, and they're beginning to see in their imagination what I share with them. It's a telepathic link. It's designed to help people recover what they've been made to forget, or they're afraid to see. Because when the hue works in this way, it shuts down these fear-based subconscious programs, at least temporarily. It gives the Atma the opportunity to begin to exercise mastery over anything that was ever done to it that's of a negative nature. Now, these are just words, but when people go through the experience and they find there's a certain protection that goes with utilizing it for themselves, they make progress quickly. I would ask that people imagine first. Take a few deep breaths and breathe it out. And on the outgoing breath, put all your fears for the present and the future aside, just for a short time. Stick it aside on a shelf in your imagination. They're going to be turned off. You'll take them back when you come back from this journey, just like you do every night when you put the body to sleep. And imagine being a sphere of energy, round, looking down on your body from the ceiling. People in the radio station, people out in the world can do this because they know what it is to daydream. Just daydream it. Imagine being above your body, what it would be like to look down on it kindly. Oh, there I am. That's me on Earth. And look around yourself from that perspective above the body. And the Atma can see in 360 degrees in any direction, up, down, sideways. Its center core is a white golden energy. It's the same energy that's in the void of space that people on Earth call zero-point or toroidal energy. The energy of the universe is not nuclear. And then imagine what it would be like to be at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. Imagine someone you love and respect and you're grateful they are in your life. They can be a person, place, or thing, but real. So if I imagine my little cat Starlight, who's a great out-of-body traveler, it's an Atma running a kitty body, and I'm telepathic. I mean, I have great time. So if you imagine someone you love, could be a kid, could be a pet, could be a thing, as long as it makes you smile inside, it opens a door in the pineal gland. In other words, the new ray that we talk about, this new consciousness moving through what people call Holy Spirit. And another point is Holy Spirit isn't something we should be praying to, it's something we should be co-creating with, imagining what we want it to do for us for the good of all life. It is an unbiased power that will create whatever we imagine, good or bad. So it behooves us to only choose to imagine wonderful things for all life. We get ourselves out of karma and reincarnation and Maya or illusion in this way. So imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful, whatever that is in your life. And I'm going to send out a series of hues on successively higher tones. And why? Because it will assist you to get that body asleep and still be consciously hearing me. Because you do it every night. Only in this process, you're going to still hear me as a being. And whether you know it or not, your body will be asleep. But you'll be fully aware. So I'm going to send out these hues, and that will be for your physical body. What people call the astral body is a body or a life people are running on the next major division, a higher heaven. A life they're living there made of astral matter at a finer vibration, has different abilities than the physical, and all emotion comes from there. And there are a number above that. So it's being sent out to get all those bodies that you as an individual Atma are running, even when you're not aware of it anymore, on different planes, to go into this sleep state so the spherical us, the real Atma, can go on this journey and gain something of benefit from it. I'll begin those tones now, with your permission.
Yeah.
You. What that's doing is bringing higher energy as the Atma from the white core into and through the physical life on Earth. It becomes a co-creative channel for a dynamic, unexpected, uplifting change for the individual and for all life. This is how the new ray in the omnipresent energy field supporting, sustaining all life works now. So we all have the ability to access it. It takes some discipline, some patience to work with it. Imagine right now being a sphere of energy floating in space above Earth, like the space shuttle, only further out. As a sphere of energy, not nuclear, but energy, it is not vulnerable to heat or radiation, doesn't feel cold. It is a luminous orb. And you're going to see that Merrily, myself, and others are in a circle around this wonderful friend of mine. His name is Ambassador Trillian, and he's a bright sphere in the center of a circle of us. He's there only for one reason, to act as a constant emanator of a consistent new ray energy until we grok it, until we can leap into it. And so he serves as a central focal point, as a kind, wondrous being, a masterful being, to assist us to recover what we have trouble recovering. So he's always showing a form that's about 18 feet tall, standing in front of the sphere he is, and it's an energy projection, looks human. He's got long, slightly curvy hair, big blue eyes, about 36, slightly pointed ears, and a white tunic and bare feet, and his two thumbs are up in front of him. He looks like a Greek god, but higher than that. And so what he's doing is showing us how to communicate with people from other worlds and how the telepathy of being out of the body with them works, how we can wake it up. All of us in a circle as a sphere of light hovering in space can see the planet Earth with the polar ice caps down there, just as if you were looking at it from a satellite shooting Earth or something. And over there is the moon, which has craters all over it, no oxygen atmosphere, and it doesn't turn on its axis as it moves around the planet. So the backside is always facing away from us, and there's the sun off in the distance. When you look in space from the Atma hovering here, and you look at what you think was the black void that you see in photographs, it is a brilliant white golden light, and it has a sound humming through it. And it's packed with energy between the Earth, the moon, and the sun, between the stars, other galaxies, the void of space, and through the dimensions. It's one living energy. It is a co-creator with us. So it behooves us to imagine wonderful things within it for ourselves and the future of this world, the future of beings on other worlds, because we can't be so limited. We have to begin to respect all life. This is one of the things that will well up at the heart core of a being as they work with the hue over a little bit of time. It will resurface and it will grow. So here he is, and when you are floating there as a sphere, you can see me there, you're going to see a body form I'm projecting out in front of the orb I am that looks to be about 36, looks like me, perfectly healthy, trim, vibrant. It is energy. It's a way for others to recognize who I am that's spherical. So here we are hovering around Turelian, looking at the Earth with polar ice caps. Now, Turelian's going to wave his hand, and you're going to see the Earth change. You're going to see like a heat wave go over your vision of the Earth and the Moon and the Sun. And when you look in the background, you're going to see this white golden energy filling the void of space, and you can see billions of stars of our galaxy clearly superimposed on it, floating in it. You look down on this Earth and you see that it changes to a world like Earth in the same place. No polar ice caps, ocean covered with a huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. And down at the bottom, it curves downward about a third of the way from the South Pole and then curves to the right, upward to the right hemisphere, and does the same just below the North Pole. In the southern hemisphere, you're going to see a crescent-shaped or half-moon-shaped glowing green emerald beach you can see from space. When you look over, you're surprised to see that the moon here is covered with an oxygen atmosphere. It's turning on its axis. There's 5 huge dome cities on the surface and rivers and gardens. And it's turning on its axis as it moves around the sun, which is the way our moon should be, by the way. And as it does, you begin to see the backside, which is always turned away from us on Earth. And there are 2 big dome cities situated in the mountainous area there. There are 3 golden-sided, 4-sided quartz-capped pyramids in each of those cities. And there is life. There are people there. And there are people down on that planet Earth, but it's not overpopulated. There's no pollution on it. We are looking at an Earth and a moon and a sun that's in the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. Because Turelian's just shifted the energy up a little higher vibration so we can see it. What this means is, in the physical universe, there's 144 parallel dimensions of worlds. The higher, more evolved races can circumnavigate those. They don't take ships from the physical, from the last 144th level, into the astral, because there is a barrier there. And so you have to actually go to visit the other dimensions as the Atma. And this they do. Plus they can travel around the universe, but not just from planet to planet or galaxy to galaxy you see in a Hubble telescope image. No, between different parallels of the same thing. It's very big. It's just gigantic. So we're looking at a continent called Lemriel that in our world was destroyed when the poles flipped 100,000 years ago. You can see right through the planet. On the back side, you can see a continent 2/3 its size, which is Atlas or Atlantis. They are not separate kingdoms. They are run. There's the beings who live on those worlds, on this world, are mostly spiritual scientists, you might say, adepts, and they create new ways of doing things. And the moon that you see there is what is going to be done to the world and moon we have now. It's been prepared, so it exists there already. When people are ready, the moon we have will no longer be cratered, marked with meteor craters, and it will do what it's supposed to do in balancing the water on Earth and the 4th phase water that are in human bodies, which is the telepathic medium. Because right now what it does in not turning, it imbalances that. People have a lot of emotional problems with the 4th phase water that's in their human bodies on Earth. So he's showing you this. And then down on that beach, you're going to find that we are suddenly, when you look down, you can see your bare feet wiggling in this luminous green sand. And you look around you and you see a jungle behind you and you see the curve of this emerald green beach. And in the distance to the right, a single snow-capped mountain. And to the left on a higher plateau, a domed city covering 3 golden-sided pyramids. And you can see, if you look behind you in the ocean, there's Turelian standing up to his knees in the ocean, smiling, giving us 2 thumbs up. And here we are, spheres hovering above a physical form that's below you, wiggling its toes in this green sand. You can feel the energy move up your feet. It's cool and warm, comes up your head. It makes you smile. Your heart opens. You look up and you see the sphere you are looking down on yourself. This is important because that green energy comes from a race that lives on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. It was a gift to this place to help us prepare to do other things. And it's about recall and remembering. So you're going to see the green energy come up your toes, out the top of your head, into the white core of the sphere and out into a green layer, teardrop-shaped lights. White, yellow, orange, red, green, blue, lavender, violet, golden light around it. That's what a solar atma looks like. Us. The real us. And that is the human being, not a human body. There's a difference. Now you find yourself hovering around Turelian in space, and you're looking down, and you can see the planet Earth as you're used to it. And you can see the barren moon. But the experience you're having here in your daydream is not being seen or experienced by your eyes. It should be closed. You can do this even with movement if you're capable. But the point is, the eyes only see physical light in one molecular time rate, in one parallel dimension. A physical life living on a planet like where Lemriel is that never was destroyed, the poles never flipped in that world. When you look at this kind of thing, you bring back to this world, to this life, an awareness that you never grew up knowing. The brain you grew up with in the body never learned any of this. So you have to go out and bring this awareness to the life you have on Earth. If you want enlightenment, a conscious expansion, what we call self-realization, the awareness of what we are as a sphere, and God realization, our purpose for co-creating with the source behind all life. All we need to do is respect that source and each other and all life out beyond Earth and embrace it. And they will come here and provide us with the technology to reverse what we've done here. You know, a cure for diseases, that's nothing. That's just switches on the genomes, on the DNA. People in other worlds have removed or eliminated microscopic bacteria that's in competition with them. They got rid of it. So they don't get these pandemics and so forth. A normal human being in those worlds lives at least 1,000 years because it's a switch on the genome. Turn it on instead of 80, now it's 1,000. Turn it off, you're suppressing someone. Especially a being that gets trapped in thinking it's a body. Now it's stuck in this body thinking it's going to grow old and die. This is incorrect. You can't. Bodies come and go. The Atma, no. Here we are in space. I'm going to introduce you to a group of master teachers. There are over 200 of them, men and women. They're spheres in a circle around us, and they have a woman or a man's body projected out in front of it, dressed differently. Some have pointed ears, violet eyes, red eyes, green eyes, different hair, from all over creation. And they are master teachers of the Galactic Alliance. They are respected but never worshipped. These are people that you can connect with if you wish, and you can ask them to help you remember more when you're out of body every night. We go into the hue. We do it for maybe 15 minutes. I usually ask people to ask this very carefully worded, structured sentences. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale, and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. You're actually saying and imagining to this omnipresent power what to create for you. If you can't imagine the solution, you can't get the solution. So we have to ask the right questions, and we have to be sincere. Then you look down, and you see that you are hovering once again as a sphere above your physical body by the ceiling on Earth. And you let a little trickle, a little stream of this white golden light, this green energy from that beach, go down through your pineal gland, go out through your brain, turn on more brain cells. They're really on, but so you can access more. and then let it flow through you out to planet Earth for your benefit and for the benefit of all life, keeping in your awareness that this is going to go out beyond the planet, and it's going to go out and connect with beings from other worlds and other dimensions. And then when you're ready, you open your eyes, and we're back here.
Mm. Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
My pleasure. I mean, this is really how we start to exercise higher faculties.
Yeah.
Creative imagination as a being has to be exercised, or it's just there dormant.
And a lot of people misunderstand. I know I did. I love the saying that says imagination is evidence of the divine, because that's how all creators create, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself, Marilee. You're completely correct about that for sure.
Oh,
I think I should probably at this point mention something
yes.
about the books I have out there, right?
Yes, please, because she's giving us a couple extra minutes, and so go ahead.
Okay, so I think you'll have put up on this radio show probably my 4 website links or something that people can go find at your site or for the show, etc. Okay, so book 1 is called The Say Ray's Agenda. It's not my agenda. It is certainly Ambassador Terrellian's agenda, but it's
Do you
not
want to
his
spell
either.
that?
Yes, SERES.
And do you want to spell your name also so they can look that up?
R. Scott Lemriel, SCOTT, last name Lemriel.
Okay.
Better yet, they can go right to one of my 4 websites, paralleltime.com. They'll find everything there and the books, links to Amazon or whatever, they can get them. They don't have, there's no shopping cart at my sites. The direct proper links are all there for any form they want to get, whether paperback or an ebook. The point of getting this book is that you will discover through the awakening of Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter in this book, it's based directly on my own experience, how they recover not knowing who they are on Earth and what co-creative part they have to helping to transform this planet. They're not from Earth. They just thought they were for a while. So the techniques in the back, there's a large section. There's a technique involving the hue, the first half of the word human, for the prologue and one separate one for each of the 29 chapters. People will find that invaluable. The other book is The Emerald Doorway, and on the front cover, it shows you an image of what the Atma or soul looks like. That front cover and the people portrayed on are actual actors that acted the parts of these people. I hired an artist out of UC Berkeley that's a great fine artist himself and a CGI kind of expert, and we actually created original new covers for this book, front cover, a series agenda in the back. You'll see Mark Sanfield on the back. This Emerald Doorway, you're going to see 3 people hovering on anti-gravitic discs, a little creature called Etta, who's a silica-based wren whose race developed the ability to fly through the air through anti-gravity means, an organic creature, not carbon-based. That is about 100,000. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. You also have an actual image of what the spherical soul looks like, and I'd also like to remind people to get on Amazon for the series of Say Ray's Agenda, the 5th edition, and the 2nd edition of The Emerald Doorway if they're interested. So
thanks for clarifying that. That's important because if you buy from a secondary bookseller on Amazon or iTunes or anybody else that allows it, because they make more money that way, you may get an earlier edition without that technique section in the back. Plus, typos have been removed, so they want the 5th final edition of the Say Ray's Agenda, which is the only one Amazon sells, or iTunes or anybody else. And the same with the Emerald Doorway. You'll see the covers. You'll see them at my website, so you'll know you're getting the right books. And you can just click on the link at the website, go right to get the Emerald Doorway or right to get the Say Ray's Agenda. I'm also a composer. I have an album on there that I produced called Stranger on a Lost Island. And, of course, if you think about it, the Lost Island is Earth. So you'll find that stuff out and have fun. There's nothing for sale at the site. You can explore the videos that have been produced for this, conferences I've conducted in Finland and Norway and all that kind of stuff people can watch for free. So that will be very helpful. There's 4 websites, paralleltime.com, TotalSpectrumPublishing.com, TotalSpectrumProductions.com, and TotalSpectrumMedia.com. And those are support websites for Parallel Time. I think that'll do it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I know that we went a little over time. Nicole was very generous with that. And we packed a lot. You packed a lot of information in there. So I'm contemplating, folks that are listening, I'm contemplating going to 2 times a month. And I would love to have you back, Scott. And maybe we can do a longer, more, slower, relaxed meditation for people and journey and discuss more if you'd be interested in that.
Sure, maybe we can do some questions and answers because we didn't have time for that.
Yeah, definitely. That would
I'd
be fun
happy
too.
to come. I want to thank you, Marilee, for having the insight and the courage to have me on. And I want to thank the producer of your radio show, too, as well, and for giving us the little extra time we needed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, crew, and stay in touch with the radio station, and I'll let you know what the next topic will be, and we might be back on in 2 weeks. Okay.
Thanks, Marilee.
Thank you so
My
much,
very
Scott.
best and pleasant dreams to everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.